Good afternoon, guys. As you can see, I'm sat next to the Avon. I've come down just for a couple of hours. You can probably see by the shadows it's getting later in the day. It's probably about 4:30 now, I think, something like that. And just check my phone. Yep, 4:37. And I've come down just for a couple of hours to do a bit of barbel fishing. This is a stretch of the Avon not too far from home. It looks really nice, actually. Colour's just dropping out of it. It's just dropping off. We've had a couple of mild days, and I thought, need to do a bit of barbel fishing. I came down, sort of had a look, was umming and ahhing, and I thought, I actually looked at it and thought, do you know what? Tomorrow it'll be a lovely colour for some roach, and there's going to be a cold night tonight as well. And then just as I was thinking about leaving and fishing tomorrow instead, a couple of anglers turned up in the car park, recognised me, and we got chatting. And they both came down here, and I thought, I can't go home now, can I? I can't resist. So I'm here. I'm going to fish a couple of rods for barbel. Got one guy's 100 metres or so above me. The other guy's probably 150 metres below me. So we've all got plenty of river to go at. And yeah, just for a couple of hours, just see if we can winkle the barbel out. It may be the last chance of the season now. Being as how we're going to get some colder nights now. We're going to get frosts, I think, from now on. So I've sort of got myself down here. It's not really a swim. It's just a sort of bit of gravel to sit on. No chair as usual. And I'm just going to have a fish here. Just as I say, a couple of hours, just see if we can't winkle something out. The sunshine's not going to help, I'm sure. But as it starts to get dark, obviously the sun will go down, and we'll perhaps get a barbel out. I'm going to go on my usual barbel tactics, barbel gear. I'm going to paste wrap boilie on one rod, and perhaps either some meat or a worm on the other rod. I've got some maggots as well, so maybe go on the maggot feeder. Who knows? We'll suck it and see. I've got my my usual 2 barbel rods that I use, or when I do use 2 rods. I've got my RVS twin tip, which is it here. I've got that, which I'll fish one rod, and I've got my slightly lighter, that's a 2 1/4 pound test curve. I've got my 1 3/4 test curve, John Wilson Rovex Barbel Quiver, that's 1 3/4 test curve. So we'll be able to cover the river. It's not very wide here, as you can see. One bait almost up my feet, and then another one further across, and sit down and keep quiet. I think it's going to be the order of the day. Right, enough talking. Let's get a bait in the water, see how we get on. So guys, it's a little precarious here. I'm sure we'll be alright. Actually, for once there's people around. There's a problem. I'm usually fishing all on my own. Right, so I'm going to put feeders, I think. Put feeder on, get a bit of smell in the water. I can't imagine anything's going to happen with this sun out. Bright sun, and very light, bright day. And there's some rivers. For example, the Wye, the barbel don't tend to worry too much about the sun. But this place, in my experience, the Avon, really does I really do like dark, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because most clubs you can't actually fish in the dark. I've never fished this peg before. It's a peg my friend Gareth has fished pretty successfully in the past. We're talking in the summer though. So I thought I'd come and give it a go. A few snags about and stuff, which is why I was just dropping my bait in the water then, just to see the lie of the land, so to speak. Well, literally the lie of the land under there. But, it seems fairly clear. This up here. Right, I think on this rod I'm going to worm. Would love to catch barbel, but I don't mind catching some chub, or well, chub realistically I suppose we're looking at. Because Catching anything else would be pretty unsporting on on this gear. Right, get this in. I'm going to literally say, I've said this before, but I'm literally going to sort of drop it in the water. Just that. Just see, it's fairly shallow along here. I need those rods, that rod raft a little bit lower. Nice to get a nicer line angle down to the feeder, really. I do often need to get the tips in the air, the rod tips in the air, but in here I don't think too necessary. We'll see when we get this rod out. I'll try a 3 ounce on here. I've got 2 ounce feeder on that one. I think, to be honest, I'm not fishing that far out. I'll go about 2/3 of the way across with this one, and the other one is literally under the rod tip here. So there's a snag further down from me here. I'm wondering if there's any fish holding up there, or perhaps just behind it. But you know, they're barbel, they don't mind being in a current, and certainly there's no current in here for them to worry about at all at the moment. Right. Look what we've got. Paint strap boilie, I think, on this one. These boilies that have been glugging for a very, very long time. Some smell in the water. And some homemade paste made from the boilies. Actually made it. I've made it from boilies. This stuff, as it's really for barbel, I've made from the same boilies. What I've also done is, rather than using the same liquid to wet it down with, because obviously to make paste you have to wet down the boilies. If you haven't seen my video where I make paste from boilies, I'll stick a link to it up there. But what I've done, instead of using the liquid for this particular one, because I do like messing about in the kitchen, is I've actually put some luncheon meat in it. And luncheon meat does the same job, believe it or not, of wetting it, because it's got so much fat in it. Then of course you're getting a luncheon meat. Oh, getting a tap already, I think. Maybe not. Just plop that in. Not very deep there at all. See if that will hold. Nice. Nice, that here. Get the worms out of the sun before they all melt. Great, we're fishing. So I don't expect a lot to happen before it starts to get dark. So the sun's about an inch off the horizon at the moment. Oh, yeah, we had a rattle then, definitely on that worm. So yeah, it's can't see we're going to get any barbel action before then. Got a big pluck on that worm there. It's probably dace or something, I should think. I'd like to say a big thanks and welcome to Sean as well, new patron of the channel. Thank you very much. Welcome along, Sean. I do actually know Sean of old, so big shout out to Sean, and thank you very much for becoming a patron of the channel, and congratulations on becoming a new father as well. Wonderful stuff. Mother and baby are healthy, so that's fantastic. So hope you enjoyed parenthood as much as I have. Oh, we are getting some bangs and rattles on these rods. So much of a rattle that one. On that one, it just moved the feeder. What I've done with my groundbait as well, it's just some cheesy garlic groundbait I've got with me, is I've just mixed it up a little bit sloppy. Not sloppy, but it's little bit wet. The idea being that staying in the feed is a little bit longer because there's a bit of a push through here. You can probably see it's a sort of a fast walking pace with the current through here. So mixing it wetter keeps it in the feeder for longer. Whereas if you mix it up fairly dry, it will come out quite quickly out the feeder. Certainly in a stronger flow like this. Try dropping this a little bit, just get a better line angle for that feeder. What I'm trying to do is reduce the angle that the line comes to the feeder. Obviously I could use a back lead and have the line sort of coming down and then to the feeder, or obviously what lots of people do is have a really long hook link so the line comes in and then goes to the bait. But obviously the higher I have my rod, the more acute an angle I have to the feeder. And fish are aware of lines, they're not stupid, and if you can get your line down, it's better. But obviously a lot of the time when you're barbel fishing, because of the current, you have to have your line up high. Your rod up high to get the line out of the water. So it's always a bit of a compromise. Whereas doing it this way, it's because there's not too much flow, I can get away with it. So what, guys, they've said it's going to go chilly tonight, and it's going to be a frost overnight, and I can well believe it. It's proper chill in the air actually. So it hasn't been for a few days. We're going back to, rather than 12, 13, 14 in the day in this part of the country, and 8, 9 at night, we're going down to sort of 1, 2 at night, and 8, 9 in the day from now on. But a good settled period will be good, I think, for the river. All this up and down temperatures all the time, it's not doing any good at all. I do really fancy getting out for some predator fishing and getting out for some roach fishing as well before the end of the season. I've done much predator fishing this season. Rivers never really seem right for it in the winter. It's always been up and flooded and just completely wrong. Sun is now half an inch off the horizon. Tips are rattling and banging, which is great. I'm going to keep these feeders going in, but I'm really going to try and just plop them in the water gently. I think we might struggle trying to fish lobworm. It may be an idea to give that a rest and fish some pellets. There's my pellet pan. I think I'm going to fish pellet certainly until it starts to get dark, because they've just ripped that to pieces. Smaller fish, clearly. not massively surprising, but it is massively encouraging. See, that's been out about 15 minutes, and there's just a little bit of groundbait left in there. It's exactly what I want. I'm cramming it in really tightly. I'm not trying to feed the fish. I'm not trying to put lots of bait in the water. I'm trying to put lots of smell in the water. So, okay, stick that one over there. I'll get this one in and out of the way first. It's very shallow here. That one's just a bit more out in the current, so all the groundbait's gone out of that one. So it's not a problem. The paste's still on, so that's good. I think I am going to, after today, I'm going to try and get out at the weekend, perhaps do a bit of roach fishing. Perhaps do a little bit of predator fishing maybe as well. So the river's starting to look good for it now. Right, as I say, I'm going to just try and almost drop that in the water. Just across there. We're about a third of the way across the river with that one. And this one's just going a little bit further out. Just a little bit. There's a bit of a big spadoosh. Well, I said it was going to go cold when this one went down, and blimey. Yeah, put my coats on, I think. What the water temperature's like. I'm betting it's got to be about 9, between 9 and 10, I'd say, a complete guess. I have to admit, I was umming and ahhing about coming tonight, and last night as well. I'm not. Although conditions, well, I came because conditions say barbel, but to be honest, this time of year, my mind's not really on barbel. It's more on, chub and roach and perhaps the smaller rivers as well. But it's one of those things when the weather dictates, you kind of feel obliged almost. I feel like you'll have missed out if you don't take part in the appropriate activity, fishing activity. It's like having a motorbike. The sun comes out and the roads are dry and it's warm, and you think, yeah, I've got to go out for a ride. Even though you don't feel like it, you've got to go out for a ride. Oh, someone's after me. Well, yeah, frost on the cards from now on. All week, I think it's going to be 1 or 2 degrees from now on. So it's going to be frosty, 8 or 9 in the day. So it's going to be pleasant enough to fish. But I think it's certainly frosts, say to me, roach, chub, pike, perhaps sander. Looking at the water temperature, 10.2 according to that. So that's a decent temperature. I'm glad the wind's dropped, because there was a breeze and it was properly quite a little bit bitey. Big thanks to everyone who messages me on Facebook as well. Have a chats with quite a few people. It's nice to have a chat and touch base with people on Facebook and on Instagram to a slightly lesser extent as well. People direct message me on Instagram. I do get asked why my comments are off on YouTube. There's a few reasons, but the main one really is because when I first started YouTube, I used to get lots and lots of comments, and I was much smaller channel then, not clearly, when I started. And I do feel obliged to answer all the comments, as I do with Facebook messages and Instagram messages. And to be honest, it was taking as much time to answer the comments as I was spending fishing. And I understand that perhaps when you get bigger channels and stuff, you can't answer every comment. But to me, it just feels rude not to answer people's comments when people have taken the time to comment on your video and even ask you questions. I find it very rude not to reply. It's just me. I know it's a personal thing. So I was really struggling to keep up with answering the comments. To a lesser extent as well. They do need policing. You have to check your comments out, and one thing which I do, which you'll know on here, is that I don't tend to say where I am. I'll say what river I'm on, or that it's a tributary of the Avon, but I don't give locations away. Really, as much for the to courtesy to the anglers who already fish there, as to just not give away spots. I'm not too precious about spots in particular and swims, but it's really to a courtesy to other anglers in the clubs. They're all club stretch, mostly club stretches, apart from the private stretch I fish, or even day ticket stretches. But I do tend to not give stretches away. And what I have found in the past is, without meaning it maliciously, I have found that people give away stretches in the comments section as well, which I've clearly gone out of my way to avoid that, and people are giving things away. And to be honest with you, it's being a family man and having a job and making the videos, I don't really have time to police comments, and like I say, I do feel rude if I don't answer people's comments, and people are able to still get in touch with me through Facebook and Instagram. So that's where I choose to run things, and that's just to explain why I've got comments turned off on the channel. It's really so I don't feel rude, to be honest, by not answering them all, because I just do not have time, I'm afraid. Well, yeah, the water temperature's gone stable now at 10.2. 10.1. So yeah, it's a decent temperature. The sun is going down now, as you can probably see from the light not being on my face anymore. It's just gone down behind the trees over there. If I swing you around, you'll see. Just popping its head below the trees there, like the horizon behind the trees. As for obviously not giving stretches away as a courtesy to other anglers, actually, I mean, in some clubs who've said, yeah, tell everyone where it is. So, but like I say, as a courtesy to other club members, I don't tend to do that. But yeah, I mean, clearly people recognise some stretches, and that's always going to be the case, but it's generally only people that have already fished there, so know it anyway. I hope the air temperature doesn't drop too much before, what time are we going to be able to stay till maybe 6:30, 7:15. That'll give us an hour after sunset. Not many stretches on the Avon you can stay into dark. Certainly no club stretches that I know of let you stay into dark. Seems to be a fairly standard rule, no night fishing, no fishing during the hours of darkness. Those of you who watch my channel avidly and also got an eye for detail probably notice that the far rod, the RVS twin tip, has now got a white tip, which it didn't used to have. Now, I wasn't intending on painting the tip, and I haven't done so, purely because, like I was saying, you know, with the most of the Avon not being night fishable, club water certainly not. I didn't think I'd bother because I do tend to use my other barbel rods anyway, and they have got the white tips on them. And I use this one mainly down the wires, no night fishing there, but then, you know, I have come and fished into dark, and it would be useful to have a white tip, but like I said, I didn't really fancy painting it. And a guy called Stephen on Facebook was messaged me and gave me a fantastic tip, so thanks, Stephen. What he suggested was to use plumber's PTFE tape. It's like if you don't know what it is, it's just like a roll of tape. It's almost like sellotape, but it's not sticky, and it's kind of, well, it's made of PTFE, but it's kind of like a rubbery, thin rubbery tape, effectively, very, very thin. It comes on a roll about 10 or 15 mil wide. You can pick it up B&Q, Screwfix, places like that. And he said if you wrap it around your rod, firstly you can take it off if you want to, and secondly it doesn't affect the action, of course, because it's quite rubbery, and wind it up the rod so that the rain doesn't get underneath it. And I've done that, and it's been brilliant, so thanks, Stephen. That's a fantastic tip. I've done that just on the top two sections, or between the tip ring and the next ring, and then the next two rings, should I say. I think I might do it a little bit further down as well, but it works really well. So, fantastic tip there. If you want to whiten the tips of your rods up, buy a roll of PTFE tape, plumber's tape, and wrap it around the rod tip. Won't affect the action, and much easier to see, certainly as we get to this sort of time at night when it's the sun has now gone down. Well, that's a fantastic tip, so I hope he doesn't mind me sharing it with everyone. I'm sure he won't. And yeah, I thought that was brilliant. It saves painting, sanding, you know, and as I say, you can take it off. It's not a problem at all. Just unwrap it, and the rod's back to standard. But no, I shall do another section as well, I think, on that one. Really great tip. Oh, time for a recast again, I think. It's crazy, isn't it? February flies about, and it's February. Shows you what the weather's like. Right, let's have another cast. Pist's still intact on this rod. Still a little bit of groundbait in the feeder as well, which is perfect. Just got my my usual bucket bag down there, which again I'll go through this. I've said it in previous videos, and I will very shortly get round to. Let's put that one down a minute. Get the other one in first. Get round to going through my river fishing gear. Lots of people ask me about my river gear, and people who are getting back into fishing, and people who are perhaps trying out river fishing for the first time with lockdown being as it has been, and people who perhaps you know fish lakes or commercials even. They're got rivers close to home that they can get to during lockdown and hopefully fall in love with. A little bit more paste on that one. Another tip which I picked up as well when you're fishing two rods on a river is, firstly, I always like to cast them both at the same time, because then you're doing all the disturbance at the same time. But I was also told to always cast the downstream rod first, because if you cast the upstream rod first and there's a bit of a bow in the line from the current, you can get in your own way. So what I tend to do, actually move the camera, you'll be able to see what I'm doing, is I'm going to cast the downstream rod first. Just try and put that in the water, really. There. And then the upstream rod goes in afterwards. Or in my case, the further out rod, which is a little bit further upstream as well. I didn't do such a good job of dropping that one in. I do see a lot of people using these rod rests these days. I've been using this one for a long, long time. It's fantastic to use with two rods. I think it's kind of it's sort of match fishing type of rod rest, really. But it's great for use with two rods, because it's sort of that distance apart, maybe 9 inches apart. Perfect rod rest for two rods. I find it very, very useful, and you can twist the bits on the end. You can probably see I've got this one upright. It stops your rod being wrenched off the rod rest, and you can also just twist them around out the way, like I've got the other one. They rotate all the way around, so you can get them out the way for when you want to strike. And they're made by Guru. I'm not sure exactly what they're called, but being orange, you can probably tell it's a Guru thing. But yeah, I find mine really, really useful for fishing two rods. Just saves having to take two rod rests. And the bank stick underneath it is absolutely wonderful. I picked it up off eBay. There's no make on it a while ago, and I can't find it anymore. It's really annoying, because I don't know if you can see, but it's, rather than being a round bank stick, it's actually triangular in cross section. And what that means is, as you shove it in, it doesn't twist, and it's perfect for fishing one rod rest for two rods, because it doesn't twist in the ground. It's absolutely fantastic bit of kit. But as I say, I haven't been able to find it since I bought one, and I was looking for another one, and I couldn't find it. It's completely gone. I had it in my basket, actually, on eBay. Into the those of you familiar with eBay will know you have a bit, it says save for later, and it puts in the bit at the bottom, and it was in there, and then suddenly it was gone. So it teach me to strike while the iron's hot, really. But as I say, there's no particular make on it or anything. If anyone does know what it is, let me know, please. I do want another one. You can get some slightly different ones made by a company. They're black. I'm not sure who they're made by, but they're made by one of the proper tackle retailers. But they've got a sort of paddle sort of catch on them, which does the telescoping of the top piece. And I've got a couple of them. They're rubbish, to be honest with you. They're nowhere near as strong as this one. They're made from much thinner material. The wall on the tube is much thinner, and the paddle thing does. I've got two, and the paddle thing doesn't even grip on one of them. Which is a bit of a shame. So I don't. I'm not going to buy any of those again. And this one is as well. It's much, much longer. This one will extend to about 5 foot. Probably longer than that. Sections are about 3 foot each. So yeah, you could probably get a good 5 foot out of it, which is great when you want it in the air. And of course, this Guru rod rest, you don't have to worry about the angle because it's round. You lift it up in the air, it still fishes exactly the same way. I'm going to have to put my coat on. Fortunately, it's in reach, so I haven't got to get it. It's a bit precarious here. Balance on this ledge. No one else has caught anything that I've seen. I can actually see another angler further down as well. And he hasn't got anything either that I've seen. So, 4 of us are doing a brilliant job of blanking at the moment. But this is about the time now. The light levels are starting to drop. I'm not sure how well it'll come out on the camera because obviously it adjusts itself as it gets darker, but the light is certainly starting to drop. This is the sort of time now for the next, I would say, hour-ish. Yeah, it's just sunset. It's just 5:38, which is exactly what sunset time is. Coincidence that I picked my phone up at that time, but yeah, it's exactly sunset, although the sun has set because there's a hill over there. But it's technically sunset at the moment, so we've got perhaps an hour. Nice to catch a fish, wouldn't it? I'd say no to a big chub, to be honest. Being fairly shallow, it's probably a good spot to have a trot down as well here. Something's in there destroying my worm, I'm sure. Dace and chublets and roach and various things. So that trotting session I had on the Olm, which I really, really enjoyed that. It might be worth coming down here for a bit of trotting in the not too distant future. Much more active method as well, isn't it? Much more warm. Keep me warm. The weather's going to turn a little bit. So many things to do. I want to do before the end of the season. We haven't got a great deal of time. Is it 3 weeks tomorrow, I think? Somewhere around there. Let's get my calendar out. Something like that. Calendar. Yes. Less than 3 weeks. 2 weeks and 5 days. 2 weeks, it's finished. End of season on a Tuesday, is it? No, end of season is on last day of the season is on a Monday. Yes, it's 3 days ago. So yes. The obligatory kingfisher. It's great to see a kingfisher. See a kingfisher every time I go fishing these days. It's brilliant. Not if you're a tiny little fish, but you know, they don't destroy stretches like other predators do. We won't go down that road just at the moment. Try and have a nice relaxing session without thinking about predators and predation and havoc they're wreaking on the rivers. I'm starting to think actually about close season and what I'm going to do, and certainly be back on the canals. Those of you who've been long-term viewers will know close season does involve getting on the canals. Do you like my picturesque bits of canal as well? So no urban bits. There's a few still waters available locally on one of my tickets as well. So yeah, we've got a few options. We'll keep fishing, certainly. I'm going off cold. Wow. It's not like forecast people to get things right. There you go. It's probably going off cold. It was 13 degrees when I got here. And my car temperature thermometer, that's now 5.9. take advantage of the time as well while I'm sat here happily blanking, but to run you through a few more things I do get fairly frequently asked about. One of them being how I illuminate my tips when it gets dark. The answer is, where are we? This fella. Just again picked it up off eBay. It's a rechargeable torch. And all I've done is araldited a nut onto the bottom of it, if you can see that there, which takes a bank stick thread, or actually a camera thread, and I've got a camera bank stick adapter in there. It's just a case of screwing that in there, sticking that in the ground. The great advantage of this torch is you can focus it. It's got a ring on it, you can focus it. It's about 12 quid, I think. The battery in it that comes with it is not the best, but it would last a few hours. I've actually replaced it, put Panasonic one in with a bit more power. It's a funny sized battery, but I've put Panasonic one in with a bit more power, and it lasts absolutely ages now, much longer than I need, certainly. But that's one thing I do quite frequently get asked about. One of the other ones is this big landing net I use when I go predator and barbel fishing. As you can probably see, it's an extendable landing net, and it's pretty long, which lots of extendable landing nets aren't, and it's got a big old mesh in it. This is actually an Angling Direct net. It's an Angling Direct Predator net. It's got a rubberized mesh as well, so it doesn't stink your car out. It dries really quickly and doesn't stink your car out. It doesn't soak the water up. The water just sits on it, and it does dry very fast. And it's wonderful. The handle, I would say, without measuring it, just the handle where it, to the block where it meets the net itself, I would say is getting on for 6 foot long, certainly 5.5 foot. It's certainly longer than 6 foot when you get to the end of the net. It's a great bit of kit, and it folds up really small. You can obviously you can put this bit in. This bit, if I can do it now, it's got cold. that bit folds in, and then this bit here you can fold in. It tucks into the end of the net, and it folds up like that. Risking this a bit, doing it with with rods in the water, but it folds up to reasonable size to carry as well. It just saves me carrying around when I'm roving, certainly, when I've been to the Y and places like that, doing a bit of roving I might catch a bigger fish that requires a bigger net. It's very easy, it just takes a few seconds like that to set it up, and you're away. Well, we might not be catching any fish, but we're covering a few bases here, aren't we? It's the thing about barbel, isn't it? If they're there, you can generally catch them if they're up for a munch. They're not the cleverest of fish. I did think perhaps about having a rove, but only having a couple of hours, or prepping a few swims and doing them in turn, but only got a couple of hours, and really it's just not worth it along here. And I certainly couldn't anyway with all these people here. There's, let's say, 100 metres or so that way there's somebody, 100 metres or so that way, and then 100 metres further down from him there's someone else. I went down the lower car park, and there's people down there, so there's people spread about, taking advantage of the milder weather. Oh, no. Trying to knock there. Well guys, as you can see, it's just got dark, curfew time, so time to get off. But to be honest with you, I think I could have sat here all night and I wouldn't have caught anything. Absolutely nothing doing at all. Had my worm chewed off earlier on, but apart from that, nothing doing whatsoever. But I hope you get something from the video anyway. Unfortunately no fish, apologies for that. But as I say, hopefully you'll get something from the video. Now I'm going to get out again very shortly. The river's looking good for perhaps some roach fishing. So perhaps get after the roach or perhaps even the predators shortly. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Tight lines, enjoy your own angling if you get out. Thanks to the channel patrons, much appreciated. And I'll see you again very soon.